Hey there, Trevor here from Double Wheel Movies. Right, well, I've got another big screen review for you. So my Wednesday movie was Universal Soldier from 1992. So you've got your Arnie films, you've got your Stallone films, your Van Damme films, and your Dolph Lundgren films. So why not have a film with two of them in? Yes, so obviously starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren as two Vietnam veterans that sadly don't make it through the Vietnam War, but are resurrected as Unisols, or Universal Soldiers. Great movie. It has everything in it you want from an action movie from this era. Over the top special effects, big fight scenes, and all that kind of stuff. So in 2019, the movie got a 4K restoration, or at least a 4K scan. So the 4K is native. It's come from 4K intermediate. And I have to say, I thought the picture looked really, really nice. I was really impressed. I'll show you some shots in a minute. So I've done some comparison pictures. So I thought going forward, this, especially for my big screen reviews, that this would be a good thing to show. So I think the Blu-ray that comes in this set is made from the 4K master. So there's not masses of different, but what it does show is what a Blu-ray looks like without HDR. So that's quite interesting. So it had a budget of about $23 million, but only seemed to make about 36 million worldwide. So it didn't massively make a profit, but it did make a profit. So, you know, there were so many big films coming out back then that it must have been quite hard for film to be these big smash hits that the likes of James Cameron are having these days and that sort of stuff. So, yeah. So, let's have a look at the images, shall we? So yeah, here we go. So let's start with this one. Bit picky there. Right, so this is the Hoover Dam. I have been to the Hoover Dam, and it is an amazing structure. It is just absolutely massive. I mean, you can tell just from this image here. But I've walked across that road. And I've been down deep inside the Hoover Dam as well. It's incredible, and they obviously show you how they constructed it and all this and the other. But yes, so this is clearly from the mission where they go and deal with the crew that are holding these people hostage. So when you look at the cliffs there and you see the white line, basically that's where the water's sunk, and sadly today that white line is much bigger. There's far less water in the reservoir. But so then if I scroll to this one, this is also at the Hoover Dam, and I've seen these. They're massive. They're much greener than this. So this is the hang on, the Blu-ray image, and you know, so there's not much contrast to the picture. It's quite washed out, and again, I tried to capture these pictures as best I could, making what I could see on my camera screen the same as what I was actually seeing on my actual screen. So then if we go to this one, this is where Jean-Claude Van Damme and the news reporter go and try and find the tracking device that's hidden within him. It's a great scene. I think it's really good. There's quite a lot of detail in this image. That's partly why I picked it. But again, quite washed out, not very much contrast. And then of course, as you've just seen, the famous scene at the end with the big fight between Jean-Claude Van Damme, or Luke as he is called in the film, and Dolph Lundgren's character, who is Sergeant, oh, I've forgotten. He's a sergeant anyway. So one thing I liked about the movie is the humour. There's some quite good bits of humour, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Right, so let's look at the 4K images, shall we? So there you go. There's that one. A little bit darker, a bit more contrast, and as you can see in the mountains, there's a lot more black. And this one. Now, this doesn't look quite this dark on my screen. It's just sort of the camera and the way the camera's picked it up, and the fact that it's a digital image. I guess taking the picture of another digital image, but so no, on the 4K it doesn't look quite this dark, and some of the blue is just my camera not being able to cope with the lack of light, let's say. And where you see the sun reflecting off the water at the top of the image, there's a lot more detail actually on the 4K, again, so the camera's not been able to pick everything up. So that's the end scene. It's much darker in the top corner. The fire, there is a lot more detail with HDR activated. So I guess, you know, it was a compromise. Did I bring down the exposure and make it too dark but show how much the detail was in the fire? Or so I had to make a bit of a compromise on that particular shot. And there you go, there's this one. Much more contrast, much more detail, and just, to me, looks more pleasing to the eye. And we got, that's that one. Yep, so there we go. Don't want to go too fast, so we'll start from there. We got this one, that one, and that one, and then we've got that one, very washed out, that one, and that one. So with the Blu-ray, you're just missing a lot of the contrast. And so anyway, there's those images. So there you go. So as I was saying, the humour. There's a scene where they're driving in the car before they get to that sort of out in the sticks petrol station, and the news reporter asks Luke, "Where's your accent from? Is it French or whatever? This, that, and the other?" And very deadpan, Luke replies, "What accent?" And to me, that's, you know, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and his strong Austrian accent, you know, Jean-Claude does do most of his films with an accent. I did actually detect him doing an attempt at an American accent throughout this film. But then, of course, when we meet his parents, you realise that his mother's French and his father's American, so that explains that. But to me, that little humour scene is just a bit of a dig at, not a dig, but just him taking a mick out of himself, basically. And then, of course, you got some dark humour when Sergeant Scott, I think, yeah, this is right, isn't it? Sergeant Scott, Dolph Lundgren's character, once he's kind of taken command and stripped himself of his Unisol sort of demeanour, he's gone back to doing the necklace again, hasn't he? And the doctor with the glasses says, "Oh, I need to talk to you." He turns around and says, "I'm all ears." So yeah, great humour, every kind of action scene that you want, and just really, really well put together film. So if you haven't checked it out, it's definitely worth getting this 4K. As I said, it's a native 4K, so you know it's going to look fantastic on your OLEDs, and any 4K device you have. You know, it's not so there we go. It's warm. It's probably coming up to about 9:30 in the evening, and yet it's still broad daylight outside. Obviously I've got the light on in here, but it does seem a little weird this time of night and it's still broad daylight. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps spread the word about my channel and the videos that I create. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. I'd very much appreciate that. And I've had some new subscribers of late, so welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, share the videos. Let your mates or your other channels know, and this, hey, check these picture comparisons, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, before I start waffling on, I'll say goodbye. Take it easy.